Hello Sagittarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my April 2020 horoscope report for you. The first thing I have to say, I'm a Sag with you, so I'm saying it on my own behalf too, is thank God for April, okay? It's kind of a relief for us because as you probably notice, parts of February and March can be an absolute beast for Sagittariuses, and that's because as the personal planets move through Pisces, they make this bad angle with us. I mean, what I say it as bad because we experience it as bad, but of course there are things we can do with it. There are things we're supposed to do with it, and it can be very emotionally productive. We can heal things, and that's great, and we love it. But the aspects for us this month are so much better than they had been in the previous couple of months. So I'm celebrating with you. If you're down in the doldrums and your serotonin's taking a hit from all these Pisces placements, then do know that as Mercury gets out of Pisces and into Aries, which will happen this month, the Sun will continue to move through Aries, and and Venus is going to get into Gemini, and Mars is going to be in Aquarius. All of those are sweet for us. So just hang in there, okay? So while I'm on the topic of serotonin boosting, I just want to give you guys a couple of tips because that, when we're starting to feel a little low and a little bit off, sometimes it's because aspects in the chart actually are coinciding with this shifting of brain chemistry that cause us to not feel good. Now, of course, anything serious, you have to work with a doctor or professional. The things I'm talking about are for lighter things that don't need medical help. But definitely think about during February and March and any other time where you're like, oh, I don't feel quite right, of lists of things that you can do to boost your serotonin. Because at the time I'm recording this and at the time that some of you are going to be watching this, because I posted early, you might not be feeling very well. Exercise, sunlight, one of those sun machines if you don't have access to sunlight. Deep breathing, being around animals. Let's see, there's also a trick that my NLP coach taught me, and she said to look up. Like, look up. There's something that the brain, when the brain feels you looking up, it sends a message that you're happy. So she suggested writing a Post-it note up high. Okay, so mine, I have it, that says, things are looking up, Annie, okay? So if I get that feeling or something like in these times, it's kind of a little joke to myself, things are looking up, Annie, right? Because that's what the note says. And then when you look up, your brain remembers happiness. And so you can just try that exercise. And also EFT tapping, okay? So all of those things can be very helpful, okay? So I just wanted to mention that. Now on to the excitement that is April for us, okay? Expect to be super busy, super productive, have a lot of things come to you that you've worked hard for, have a lot of things getting ready to launch. That time between March 30th and April 9th is our best time for the whole rest of the year to have the most momentum, and you'll see that I'm planning a huge launch myself, taking my own good advice. So if you have something really important to do, the earlier in the month, you'll be free from the Venus retrograde, which is going to start clouding in every day after April 10th and on. May 13th through June 25th is the actual Venus retrograde, and then the post-transit shadow period lasts until the end of July. So we're talking about 4 months of Venus retrograde influence. I have a ton of resources on Venus retrograde. I'm going to give you some pieces here, and I'll give you some pieces, of course, in the months that it's happening. But for the most part, Venus rules love, beauty, and money. So everything about love, certainty, money, design projects coming up from the past are likely to come in your face again, for better and worse. So if you've worked hard for something, money can come in. If you worked hard in your relationship, you can have a renaissance in your relationship, bliss from the past within your relationship. Be prepared to run into some of your exes. Super common in Venus retrograde energies, even in the shadow period as we are here, that you run into people that you were with before. And if there's something unresolved there, you may be able to resolve it. Or if you're hoping to get back together with somebody from the past, the odds are increased. And they're especially increased for Sagittarius because the predominance of this Venus retrograde transit is actually going to be in the relationship sector for Sagittarius, besides being, you know, a planet that rules relationships. So the relationships from the past are going to feature very strongly. And that is going to really start coming in now. I'm calling this month this bubble of like weightless suspension in between the retrogrades before they get really kicking up more. And in between the eclipses, this is important. If you were shellacked by or in triumph by the last eclipses, I know that I had the floor completely wiped with me. The last eclipse cycle really took me down. I had a terrible time. And I'm still recovering from that. And if you're with me, then I'm hoping with you that you're feeling better. But do know that the conclusion to this epic Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle that has been causing so many changes in home and work and family, we still have some more of that in June and July. And starting at the end of April, we might start to see news, information, the topics, the storylines that had been up in our faces and maybe settled. The dust had settled by now. Some of it might start sparking up again. And that's for better and worse. If there's something that you're working on that was eclipse related that's been happening over the last couple of years, you could have your radiant, amazing, triumphant conclusion here as the end of the eclipses occur. And do note that the Sagittarius Gemini eclipses are what's starting now. So this is a huge time for Sagittarius where a lot of work and home and family things are getting wrapped up. And we're stepping into a time of massive change, continued massive change over the time that the Sag eclipse cycle is occurring. So we're in for a wild ride, but at least the aspects this month are very much in favor and supportive for us. My biggest concern for everybody, and especially us this month, is just guarding your physical body and protecting yourself from accidents, because there are about the same amount of challenging aspects this month as there are sweet ones. Our disposition, and Sagittarius have a leg up here with our positivity. A positive disposition is going to help convert anything that could go either way into having it be more positive, okay? We just have to stay positive, do the thing that we do as Sagittarius, look at the cup as half full, and that can really take it over the top for us. So that's exciting. But at the same time, a lot of these aspects are with Mercury. They're challenging aspects with Mercury. And Mercury involves movement, and Sagittarius tend to be in a hurry, right? We're excited about everything. We're moving around. We're moving our physical bodies. We don't like to sit still. So there's, throughout the month, there are some things to be concerned about, but especially between like April 24th and April 28th, there's a succession of aspects with Mercury to really extra guard yourself. And if you have to take a trip, I actually just modified a trip plan based on this information myself to try to be done driving before those aspects start. Just be super careful, super awareful, and trust your gut, you know, be paying attention, do that extra look in the mirror, and don't go into this with fear, you know. An ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure. So knowing about this beforehand can prevent a problem. And I've had many a person tell me when I've mentioned something like this, they've said, I kept it in mind, I was aware, and because of it, there was a narrow miss, you know, a near miss, but I was okay. And, you know, so that's what we're hoping for, is that you can add your awareness, add this knowledge, and that it can really help you. The area of home and family is still lighting up for Sagittarius. So expect to, you know, have a lot of home related focus, family related focus coming up. And for those of you earlier in the sign, you're going to start from the beginning of the month also having the romantic sector, the creative sector, your house of children lit up. And the rest of us, as the month moves on, we'll start to get that boost in the 5th house. So creative inspiration, you know, creative projects, recognition for creative projects, notable things involving our children or other people's children or our own inner child, things like that are going to come up in a big way. Okay, so money news can come in, and some of this can be linked. Okay, so I want to talk about this star goddess Astraea. Astraea rules equality and justice, and where she is for Sagittarius has to do with relationships and forgiveness. Okay, so there might be somebody that you have to forgive, and there may be somebody who you kind of feel like you owe something to, an apology, an acknowledgement. If it's someone who's crossed over, you know, you can write them a letter. But there could be a link, this kind of a sustained storyline with Sag is that there's some forgiveness issues, and the degree to which you can resolve those may be the degree to which more money can come in for you and more debt can be relieved for you. Many Sagittarius got themselves in trouble with the Jupiter and Sag transit last year because of just excessive sagginess and spending. And now with Jupiter and Capricorn, you can really just clear everything up, and this could be a year that you could really get out of debt. But dealing with the emotional piece of debt can be really critical to stopping the pattern of getting back into debt. So if you notice that you get out of debt and you get back in it, there's probably a piece here of sabotage, and some of it can be money consciousness stuff that has to get worked out, which you can also do very much this month. But some of it might be from this forgiveness. Because if we're feeling guilty about something, then we don't feel worthy, then we don't feel worthy of having money in abundance. And sometimes this is very obvious and conscious, and sometimes it's very deeply unconscious. But it is definitely coming up for Sagittarius. Okay, another piece that I want to talk about this month has to do with transiting North Node. The North Node in the chart, in my mind, is the most important placement because it shows us our areas of highest expression in this lifetime. It's our dharma. It's what we came here to do. So the North Node in transit shows us keys. It's like a treasure map or like a mystery, you know, where there's clues that the stars are showing us saying, hey, there's a clue over here to your highest good. And that's what the North Node transiting is. It's like wherever it is, there are some very important keys to your highest expression in that area. For Sagittarius, this has to do with relationships. So there's been some other things I've talked about with this, including the star goddess Juno bringing in these lessons in a big way, almost all of this year and part of last year. And this North Node, this transiting North Node for Sagittarius is really telling us you have to partner with people, you have to get help from people, you may have to delegate, you may have to get support, but there are certain things that will help you do what you came here to do by getting some help and by finding people who can like govern a certain division of your life for you, and so that can help you to concentrate your efforts. You know, Sagittarius tend to be these, you know how we are, jack of all trades, and if something needs to be done, oh, I guess I do this now, I'll figure it out, right? Do-it-yourself stuff. We're queens and kings of do-it-yourself stuff. But it looks like the energy of us spreading ourselves too thin is coming up in a big way, and that really wants to be rectified this year. And there's a lot of support for doing that, but part of it's going to come from getting some help. Okay, so let's see what else I wanted to talk about. Eclipses. So writing and teaching and publishing and travel are going to start to be brought up in a very big way. They're kind of constants for a lot of Sagittarius anyway. This is just how we are and what's normal for us. But with the introduction of the Sag-Gemini eclipse cycle, this is really going to start to become a main theme. So you might have a book you want to write. You might have, you know, international scenes that are calling for your attention, calling for your adventures. Adventures might want to come in. And by the way, this month could be a huge month for adventures for Sagittarius, April. So a lot of us are going, I know that I'm going to be on the road, packing, you know, getting ready for a long trip and starting to take that trip. And many of you are going to find that you're either going to be actually traveling this month or that you're going to be planning future travel, or that opportunities may come and you can start to make the plans now. And this is a pretty clear month for making plans because it's different than Mercury retrograde. Venus doesn't rule plans the way Mercury does. So making plans and following through with plans during Venus retrograde isn't as much of a concern as it is with a Mercury retrograde. Where it tends to show up is in the financial aspects, in the things that come up in the relationship space, for better or worse, that could detract from other things that we're trying to do. But, you know, in general, it's a pretty clear time to plan. So if you want to go somewhere, this could be a good time. Just remember what I talked about, like, especially towards the end of the month, like around the 24th or the 28th. just be extra careful at those times. And yeah, definitely just be extra careful at those times. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, so Mars moving into Aquarius is really exciting for us because that's going to make 60-degree angles with our placements, which means that for the couple of months that that's happening, that's going to be a boost for us to be super productive. And we do want to try to be super productive this month because of the open window that I told you about, and also because Mars is going to go into retrograde later in the year. It's going to be a very long shadow period, a very long after shadow period, and Mars retrograde is a time that I recommend relaxing and resting and taking yourself off a turbocharge. Now, I know that people have to work, I have to work, we have to do what we have to do. It's not like we can just not work for all of Mars retrograde. But since I have noticed that my ambitions really get lower in Mars retrograde and I get more lazy, I've started to plan off time and plan my key projects for not that time so that I don't have to force myself to do anything. So I'm recommending this for you too, so that's even more reason to kind of just like light a fire under it this month. Also, it's going to be more clear from the eclipse dramas and changes, and so this is just this magical bubble month where we can get a lot of stuff done. Many things can come to us. Remember, I always talk about this time in between the retrogrades, like basically through April 9th, where we're actively weaving our web, weaving, getting as much in place as possible. And then we can kick back in the Venus retrograde and let the food come to us and just like observe what comes in and decide what we want to do with it. So like the stretching and the pushing and the forcing and the trying to make things happen stuff that Sagittarius tend to do a lot of, all of that is really well placed for the earlier part of the month because we want to take advantage of that Aries energy. We want to push all of the impetus, but we're going to kind of pull back inward and backward. And if you can align yourself purposely with that, you're going to have so much more fun during the retrograde. You'll be present for the things that may come up that you have to deal with. And it's just a time to take a break from yourself more, which I think is fantastic. So, and take a break. Okay, so when I say take a break from yourselves, I mean like the stretching and the extra and the pushing and the striving. And then you can say hello to the parts of yourself of like the adventures and the fun and the laid back and the flow. Those are the parts that the retrogrades want you to say hello to about yourself. And so you'll feel that as we get more into the month. Money could have a nice boost. So I hope that works out, and that's early, middle, and late degree placements. And it does look like there's some continued focus on earning money and making money. That's long-term and short-term. So hopefully that manifests as some boosts in income. It also might result in some boosts in spending. So if you can save before then you will have the money when you're ready or when you need it. Also know that Venus retrograde is a time for bargain hunters' delight. So if you start putting some money away now, you might find that you can pick up some really good deals in Venus retrograde because people aren't seeing clearly when it comes to money and valuable items. Unfortunately, that's why you don't want to necessarily get rid of something in that time if you can help it, because you might not be seeing clearly. But for other people that are, if you've got some extra money, you might pick up some really good deals. So that's something else to know that is coming. Okay, so if you'd like to have more information on how to maximize this month and the time coming, definitely look for Annie Botticelli, Venus retrograde. Venus is going to be retrograde in Gemini. You can start to read up on that. I've got an extensive blog series on my site. I've got a very comprehensive video called Venus retrograde that really will help you to prepare for this. Will also help you to make the most of that window through April 9th, because you'll know what you're not supposed to be doing in Venus retrograde and what to push through in those times. And at AnnieHelpsYou.com, that's where my Venus retrograde blog series is, and all kinds of other blogs as well. If you'd like to learn astrology, to do it professionally or because you just love it and you can't get enough of it, definitely take my course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. Even if you don't want to do it professionally, it's a wonderland of just ongoing learning at your own pace with the support to have questions answered. And it's just a magical wonderland of learning. So you can see that at AnnieHelpsYou.com, also at beastropro.com. You can see this and my other courses at my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. All of the links that I'm giving you are also in the notes underneath each video. So you can just click on see more and you can open those up. At cozybysweetstarlight.com, I do written horoscopes 1 month early, so you can get more information about what's going to be coming up from the perspective of the sun moving through where it will be for you. And there's also, it's just such a beautiful site. So you can check out maximizing the sun moving through different signs, and yoga for each sign, and teas for each sign, and that's also a wonderland. So I hope you have a wonderful month. I'm excited about this month for us. I've told you where to be careful of, so hopefully we can keep that at bay and just enjoy the amazing harmonious aspects for our sign finally this month. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month.